The best personality for teaching is there is none.
What kind of an answer is that?
Now, before you think I'm trying to take the easy way out, let me kind of list the different personalities there are and the pros and cons of each. But more importantly, what I want to leave you with is not necessarily the personality you need to have, but the energy you need to bring to the classroom. Now, I want to throw this confession out there. I hate talking in generalizations. I really do. Because what I want from my classroom, once again, is I just want the nuts and the bolts. I want to know stuff that I can apply to my classroom right away. I don't want big philosophical generalizations because they really do me no good. But I'm going to give you those 4 just generalizations because once again, it's going to lead into what you really need to have in your classroom to make a difference. Introvert, analytical. Now, this is me. So I'm definitely, you wouldn't think so. I have a YouTube channel, right? But truth is, I'm very much an introvert. I'm very content just being at home, sitting around, doing nothing by myself. Very much introvert, right? And I'm very analytical. Man, I can just think that, true story here. I remember I went to Disneyland with my family. And I'm looking at all the workers and I'm thinking, you know what the best job in the world would be? It would be to help form those lines, those queue lines that people in, that I try to strategize how to get the most people in a small space. Isn't that sick? Of course, my family laughed at me for that, but that's how my brain thinks. I love that stuff. I can spend all day looking at charts and graphs. So, introvert, analytical. Now, I got to tell you this here. It's great for the classroom because I'm able to do lesson planning. I'm very logical. There's a process to it. Everything else, I think things all the way through comes to me quite easily. Hence my analytical side. That is definitely a plus on it. The negative to it though is this. I could be in my brain too much sometimes. By doing that, I'm not necessarily building those relationships like I should be on a more daily basis. And sometimes it tends to lead me to be a little bit more boring in my classroom because I'm a lot of times worried about the process than I actually am about the energy that comes from it. So those are kind of the pros and cons with that style. Extrovert, expressive. Now this is kind of the flip side. It's kind of the opposite. Another side note, it's interesting how I think we're attracted to the people that are opposite from us. My wife is an extrovert, expressive. And those people, they tend to be very much social. They're very much relationship. They're always talking to people and everything else. So in a classroom, that is great because relationships, man, they become the thing in the classroom. And that classroom a lot of times tends to be fun and full of energy. That is definitely the pro. The con of it, just what the pro is for analytical, is the con is that they lack a lot of times of organization. Things are organized, desks are messy. You can see lessons may not flow quite as smoothly because not everything's all thought out. So those could be the cons to it. Introvert, amiable. So this is something once again introverted kind of keep to themselves, and so that's part of it. But the amiable part is where they can run into difficulty. So the good thing about being introvert, amiable is relationships. You can connect with students like nobody else. You have compassion for it. You can empathy. It comes to you naturally. And so those relationship classes are probably stronger than anything else and any other teacher could bring because of that. The downside of that is it tends to lead itself to sometimes students taking advantage because you're very empathetic and everything else. It could tend to lead to students taking advantage of it and getting away and behavior sometimes getting out of control. So that would be the con to that one. And extrovert, driver. This is somebody that's out there and expressive, but they get things done. These are kind of like the natural leaders in the world. And so in a classroom, that is great because things do get done in a classroom, right? Things are on point. That's what we expect. Things that happen next and so forth. So that is great to actually seeing progress happen in a classroom. The downside to it is that you can actually, not only have bad relationships, but a lot of times it could be maybe too intense for some students. They may be overwhelmed by the expectations, or they may be overwhelmed by the workload, or just overwhelmed by not being able to keep up with what your demands are. So that might be the downside of it. So as you can see, all those personalities will work in the classroom. But here's the key. Once again, it is not the personality that you have. It is the energy you bring into the classroom. You can be an extrovert, introvert. You can be analytical. You can be expressive. You can be any of those, combination of any of those. And there's pros and cons, but the most important thing is the energy you bring to the classroom. And I've been trying to define what that is. And you know what I'm talking about, right? If you go visit other teachers in the classrooms, some teachers just seem to have it. I'm not sure that word. They just have it. You're like, well, I don't understand. I do the exact same thing in my classroom, but the students act differently. What is it? And so I've been trying to define it for several years now. And the best thing I came up with is this. Here's a term: calm, assertive. One more time: calm, assertive. So let me kind of explain where this comes from, and then we can see how we apply it to our classroom. Many moons ago, my wife did doggy daycare, and it's exactly what it sounds like. People would bring their dogs over to our house, and my wife would watch them, and of course I'd be there on the weekends and everything. But because of that, we had to figure out something to get these. Man, it is one thing to have 10 kids all get together. But at one point in time, I believe we had like 14, 15 dogs in our house at one point in time. We had Chihuahuas all the way to Rottweilers, Pit Bulls, and everything in between. And I would watch my wife interact with these dogs. And it was amazing to see. We had 14 dogs and they all got along. And I'm like, how does she do this? And the secret is we started watching a show called Cesar Millan, the Dog Whisperer. And in there, he talks about the right energy, which is calm, assertive. Now, I want to stress, I'm not saying kids are like dogs, nothing like that at all. But it's amazing that calm, assertive energy, that he brought into the situation, that he said you need to have around dogs. When something like this, calm, meaning that you're not overly, here's a good way to say it. Calm is meaning you're somewhat peaceful. That's what calm means. You're peaceful. It's not to mean that you're boring. It just means that you're peaceful and you're harmonious, that you're that cool, calm, and collected kind of part of it. Your confidence kind of comes in tied with that as well. It doesn't mean boring or another routine or nothing like that. It just means that inner peace, we'll kind of call it, right? And assertive doesn't mean you're mean, doesn't mean you're a bully, doesn't mean you're yelling. Assertive, just the way you carry yourself. Calm, assertive. And he would bring that in to winning, a dog or something else, that interaction with. And then I looked at my wife and she was doing the same thing. 14 dogs, calm, assertive. They knew she was in charge. They knew the energy that was supposed to be there because she set that tone. And so when I look at teachers and I think about my own classroom and classes where things are running well, the person in charge, the teacher, is calm, assertive. But this is interesting, is that can apply to any of those personalities. You could be an extrovert and calm, assertive. You could be amiable, calm, assertive. You could be any of the other personalities, but the energy you bring to the classroom is calm, assertive. You're going to see magic happen.